Shifting in communication affects language forms, duration of interaction, relationship of the speaker, the message, and the delivery of the intended message. I can't wait to share it with you. Good afternoon, students. How are you? I hope you're doing something amazing today. Perhaps working on your modules or helping the household chores. Let me borrow your time for a moment. I am your teacher, KERRA, and welcome back again to our oral communication class after a very long vacation. Before we begin, let me ask you, have you eaten your lunch? Did you wash the dishes already? Are you sitting comfortably with a pen and paper? If the answer is yes, then join me to a wonderful learning this afternoon. Are you ready? Let's go! We already passed the halfway point of our learning competencies, and I congratulate you all. You just finished the first quarter last month, and I'm so sure that you're ready for the second phase. But this isn't new to you. We will still discuss the lessons way back, understand them again, and connect them to one another. Let me begin by asking, what is your idea about the shifts in communication? Is it possible to use one single communicative strategy from the beginning up to the end of communication? Can there only be one way of delivering the message that suits all communication contexts? Our lesson for today is the shifts in communication that affects language forms, duration of interaction, relationship of the speaker, the message, and the delivery of the intended message.
After watching this TV lesson, you should be able to explain the effects of a shift in communicative strategy, demonstrate knowledge on the use of communicative strategy in a variety of speech situations, and relate and apply the lesson to your everyday communication.
Before we start, what I'm about to do first is to make sure you have reviewed the types of speech context, speech styles, speech acts, communicative strategies, and even the types of speeches, because they are all connected to our lesson today. Let me help you. I have created a checklist of 8 items. If your answer is yes, I want you to create a sound similar to this. If your answer is no, create a sound similar to this. Are you ready? Let's begin!
I am aware of the types of speech contexts, speech styles, speech acts, and communicative strategies. I can differentiate the types of speech contexts, speech styles, speech acts, and communicative strategies. I can explain the importance of effective communication in a specific context, style, act, or strategy. I recognize that competence in communication requires an understanding of all speech contexts, styles, acts, and communicative strategies. I exhibit appropriate verbal and nonverbal behavior in a given speech situation. I can identify the type of speech context, style, act, and communicative strategies someone is using. I adjust my speech style depending on the context of the situation. I know that using the appropriate speech context, style, act, and communicative strategy is one key to successful communication.
So, how many arfs and meows do you have? I'm sure you have all arfs in your answer. Changing any part in communication process brings change to the entire process. For example, shifting from one speech context to another, or one style to another, one act to another, or even shifting from one communicative strategy to another, directly or indirectly. Let's examine different communication shifts. One shift that affects communication is language forms.
Language forms. Shifts in communication primarily affect the form of language being used. When we say language form, it can be either formal or informal. It deals to the types of sentences, grammatical structure, intended meaning, or the words or phrases being used.
Do you remember the types of sentences when you were in elementary? Let's recall it together.
Declarative sentence or making statements. There is interrogative sentence that can be used to ask questions. Imperatives for commands, and exclamatory for expressing strong emotions. All these are part of language form.
Now, how can we apply types of sentences in speech context? Let's check this video.
Thank you. Please take your seats. Today is the day that we all dream about. When I was your age, I never thought I would ever graduate. Never did I think that I would be up here saying to Bud National High School changed my life for the better. I know all of you have worked so hard to get here, and I congratulate you for a job well done.
What speech context do you think it is? Correct! This is public. And what speech style is used? Excellent! Formal. Now, what happens if the language form shifts? Let's check it out.
Hey yo, what's up? I congratulate you all today on your graduation. But do you think you can make it to college? I don't think so. Please.
What happens to the communication? Is this correct? It isn't. For intrapersonal and interpersonal communication, You can create non-formal conversation with friends and loved ones. But for public and mass communication, it is imperative to use formal language. How about in speech style? Let's watch this video.
Hello, Miss Harley. Glad to see you on your third session.
Good morning, Doc. Currently, I am experiencing major depressive disorder, which is a common and serious medical illness that negatively affects how I feel, how I think, and how I act. But I know it's treatable. This depression causes feelings of sadness and or loss of interest in activities that I once enjoyed. It can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems and can decrease my ability to function at work and at home.
Okay, well, I need to diagnose you first for...
I could say it's depression, Doc, because I already have symptoms of feeling sad, loss of interest, changes in appetite, weight loss, trouble sleeping, over fatigue, feeling worthless, and thoughts of death and suicide.
We
I
can say
know
that...
that depression is among the most treatable of mental disorders, Doc. Between 80 and 90% of people with depression eventually respond well to treatment. Almost all patients gain some relief from their symptoms, and I am sure I can.
After watching the video, what have you observed? The conversation between the doctor and the patient is not consultative because consultative speech style requires interrogative sentences as the way of consulting. How about for speech acts?
Declarative language is often used for assertive and declaration speech acts. Exclamatory language for expressive speech acts, and imperative language for directive and commissive.
I can't believe you cheated on me again. I am so mad right now. I want you to get out from the house right now.
It's not what you're thinking. Let me explain.
Just get out. I don't want to see your face ever again.
What can you say about the video? Lack of emotions, right? If there is a shift of language form in speech act, the entire communication changes too. How about in communicative strategies?
A mixed forms of interrogative and imperative type of sentences are used for nomination, turn-taking, and topic shifting. But for topic control, repair, and termination, mostly require the use of declarative and exclamatory types of sentences.
The next communication shift that affects communication is duration of interaction. When we say duration, this refers to the time, the length of communication that can be shortened or lengthened depending on the speech situation between the speaker and the listener. Time element is important. How can we apply the duration of time in speech context? In speech context, often depends on the intent of the communication. Interpersonal do not require too lengthy speech considering the audience. But someone can speak to himself or herself overnight, such as reflecting or imagining. In speech style, we don't speak too much in a casual conversation with a stranger, right? But in consultative, it may take longer duration because a doctor has to diagnose a patient about his or her condition. Now, what happens if there's a shift in duration? Let's watch this.
What happened? Why are you crying?
I need to be honest
Oh, okay.
Is it a little weird that a mother doesn't care much of how it happened? Let's go to speech acts.
In speech acts, commissive acts may require considerable time for about an hour during the formal meetings and declarations, while expressive act may take longer time because of sharing of experiences and expressing emotions. How about communicative strategies? All strategies do not require significant time except for topic control because the speaker has to control the topic.
The third communication shift that affects the communication process is the relationship of the speaker.
The relationship of the speaker. This is the bond between the speaker and the listener, which may depend on how the discussions relate to the receiver's interests and knowledge.
When we go back to all speech situation, generally, the speaker is expected to create a positive relationship among his or her listener or audience. This means creating an acceptable and desirable image among the listeners in a communication to make it effective and successful across the speech context, speech styles, speech acts, and communicative strategies. Creating positive relationship begins even before standing on a stage. This can be done by smiling or greeting. Another communication shift that affects communication process is message.
Message. Message is the core concept of interaction. When the speaker is able to answer all questions and when the message is transmitted across, then the communication is successful. For speech context, the message for interpersonal communication can be reflections, experiences, or decision making within the group. But for public and mass communication, it reflects national and general issues concerning the community. For example, in dyad or small group discussion, it reflects socialization and short talks.
How message works in speech style. For formal and consultative, message can be academic, political, scientific, or clinical. For frozen, the message can be traditional or ritualistic. For intimate, it can be personal or familial. How about in speech acts? Messages in speech acts vary depending on its purpose, which allows the person to direct, assert, commit, express, and declare ideas. Communicative strategies mostly deal with approach and presentation of message. This includes all topics and messages that can be nominated or terminated. The last one is delivery.
Delivery refers to the manner of how the speech or message is presented. It can be impromptu, extemporaneous, memorized, or manuscript. How can we apply this to speech context? Interpersonal or intrapersonal can be impromptu messages. Small group discussion can use extemporaneous speech. Also, public communication can use manuscript or memorize it. For speech style, frozen can be memorized and casual or intimate are often impromptu. How about in speech acts? Representatives, directives, and expressives can be in the form of impromptu, while declaration in the government for public safety, for example, can use manuscript or extemporaneous speech. While in communicative strategies, all types can be observed in a small group discussion. However, repair may come in impromptu.
All right. This lesson seems to be one of the most confusing topics, but this is the basic concept of shift in communication. Now, let us apply all we have learned today. Let me give you a situation. The situation is a news reporter delivers a news report about the latest development on coronavirus vaccine. Let us see what's in your mind. What is the process of communication? How do you think a news reporter reports the latest development of coronavirus vaccine? Let us begin with the language form, particularly the types of sentences. Shall we? In speech context, declarative language is often used in mass communication because you are referring to a massive people or audience. In speech style, declarative and interrogative language are being used since it's formal. For speech act, it is obvious that this communication is locutionary. Therefore, we use declarative. How about in communicative strategy? Still, a mix of declarative and interrogative. Imagine if there is a shift in speech context, for example. A news reporter is reporting about the latest development of coronavirus vaccine to himself alone. Weird, right? News reporting needs mass communication for public awareness and safety. Let's move on to the duration of interaction. The news report doesn't have to take long. 1 or 10 minutes would be enough. How about the relationship of the speaker? Well, it is assumed that the speaker has to show professionalism in delivering the news, although there is no direct contact between the speaker and the several listeners. From today's lesson, what is your takeaway? Have you observed that whenever there is a shift in communication, everything goes along? Yes! One change affects one speech situation which may cause misunderstanding, troubles, communication failure, or worse, chaos. I know it has been a little tough today, but I'm pretty sure that you have learned so much about communication. I am very confident that by the end of the semester, you shall become a better communicator. It has been tough, yet fun learning day in oral communication. Catch me again next Wednesday for another round of learning. Don't forget to call and invite your classmates to watch PTV 48 on their television or via Facebook Live every day from 1 to 3 in the afternoon. This is again your teacher, Mom KERRA, reminding you to stay home, stay safe, and always pray to God in the highest. Bye!